Welcome to my presentation on canine communication and behavior. Ethology is the science that studies non-human animal behavior and focuses on consistent, species-specific behavior patterns, such as canine social behavior and communication. Behaviorism is a natural science and examines the relationship between the environment and the behavior of individuals, focusing on lawful principles of learning such as operant and respondent conditioning. Innate behaviors are influenced by learning, and learning itself is an evolutionary adaptation. So when we analyze canine communication, we are borrowing from both of these scientific fields. In this presentation, we will look at the organization and interpretation of canine behavior. We will do so using the ethological behavior hierarchy, which differentiates between behavior acts, behavior systems, and behavior sequences. Behavior acts are the smallest units of behavior, also called elements or signals. These are species-specific and form-retaining, meaning that these acts are typical for the individual. Examples of behavior acts are tail wagging, lip licking, types of barking, turning of the head, chewing, and include autonomic responses such as panting, piloerection, or dilated pupils. They also include the posture of a dog, taking the neutral body posture of an individual as a default and identifying responses such as high posture, with behavior acts such as ears forward, head raised or tail raised, and low posture, with behavior acts such as ears flattened, a crouched stance, head lowered, or the tail tucked between the legs. Though these acts are species typical, they do vary among individuals greatly. For example, a neutral position of a beagle is much higher with their tail up than a neutral position of a whippet with their tail lowered or even between their legs. This means we can't conclude that the tail tucked between the legs equals a lower than neutral position. The neutral position depends on the individual. Lower than neutral body posture is often seen in insecure or anxious behavior, and higher posture is seen in confident or offensive behavior. However, this is not always the case. Behavior acts are often called calming signals or stress signals, yet without looking at other factors, we should not make conclusions about the meaning of these acts. Behavior systems consist of behavior acts which are grouped by functional outcome. They have a common goal. Examples of behavior systems are exploration behavior, food acquiring and ingestive behavior, reproductive behavior, allomimetic behavior and play, aggression, eliminative behavior, comfort and sleep, and fear behavior. Behavior acts you can see in fear behavior may be flight or freeze responses, acute digestive issues, a lower than neutral body posture, alert behavior, comfort-seeking behavior, but also trembling, shaking. In aggressive behavior, you can see behavior acts such as fixating, growling, raising of the lips, a short low-pitched bark. When trying to interpret canine communication, we often just look at behavior acts. The dog licks his lips, so he must be in distress. But to know what lip licking means in a specific instance, we need to look at the behavior systems too. It may be part of fear behavior, reproductive behavior, or food acquiring behavior. It can even be a part of the aggressive behavior systems, as lip licking can be an intention signal. Behavior sequences consist of behavior acts in which the first act leads to the following act, and so on. These sequences are responses to a sign stimulus, also called a key stimulus, which unlocks the sequence. For example, seeing a pheasant may unlock the stalking behavior act, which is part of the predatory motor sequence. The full wolf predatory motor sequence is said to be orient, eye, stalk, chase, grab bite, kill bite, dissect, and consume. This sequence is used as a template for that of a domestic dog based on the works of Coppinger, however it's too simplistic and restrictive. Behavior sequences are flexible, they have varying degrees of freedom, influenced by motivation, affective pathways, and learning history. For example, my spaniel, pictured above, did not need to be taught how to stalk or chase birds, but the behavior was flexible and could be shaped so that she could work with me to chase, stop, and retrieve on cue. Potential social conflict or threat can lead to active and passive appeasement behavior, such as a lowered posture, licking the mouth of another dog, or turning away from the other dog. These are used to appease conflict. These behavior acts are sometimes called calming signals or appeasement signals. However, they are often confused with acute stress signals. They occur in unpredictable or uncontrollable situations and often result in conflict behavior, which occurs when a dog experiences an internal conflict from acute stress, which triggers behavior acts from two different behavior systems. Conflict behaviors can be grouped as follows. Inhibition, in which one behavior system inhibits the other, for example when the fear system inhibits exploratory behavior. There are two types of ambivalent behavior. Successive, this is when one behavior system follows the other, for example first the dog approaches and then they retreat. And there's simultaneous ambivalent behavior. This is when two systems are expressed at the same time, and the front of the body, for example, moves forward, but the back of the body stays in one place. And there's displacement behavior. This occurs when the internal conflict between two behavior systems results in the dog using a behavior act from a third, unrelated system. This is, for example, when your dog starts digging or yawning out of context. Then there's redirected behavior. It's where a dog can't direct its behavior to that which triggered it, and in turn it directs it to something or someone unrelated. Think of redirected aggression. Then there's autonomic responses. These are not conscious. Think of panting, a high-pitched bark, piloerection, a sneeze, lip licking from drooling, the white of the eye becoming visible, loss of bladder control, or pupil dilation. And then there's intention movements. These are behavior acts that indicate the dog intends to perform a behavior, but internal conflict inhibits them from doing so, at least temporarily, such as a dog who intends to attack but stops at fixated staring, or a dog who wants to escape but stops at lifting their paw. Intention movements are indicative of arousal and it can occur without fear too, so it's important not to confuse stress with distress and signs of acute stress with appeasement or calming signals. When observing behavior acts described as stress signals, always look at your dog's posture and the context too before you start interpreting their behavior. So how do we know which behavior acts can be seen in specific behavior systems? Mainly through careful observation using ethograms. In case of stress responses, behavior has been researched in settings where the behavior acts and heart rate and saliva cortisol increases were measured in response to a trigger. This is an example of an ethogram for noise phobia. As you can see, the behavior acts are operationalized. The definitions are very clear. For example, tucked ears are described as ears folded against the side with a flattened appearance. These behavior acts are observed in context of specific triggers that elicit a response. The facial action coding system is a scientific observational tool for identifying and coding facial movements in dogs. Research using this system to assess facial expressions related to emotions can be valuable to analyze, define, and interpret facial behavior acts. However, they do not replace careful observation of the full body, as they only take facial movement into account. Plus, depending on the study, though the definitions of these facial expressions are very clear, other behaviors and behavior systems vary widely in their description. Motivation is what arouses to take action towards a goal. Many of these motivational factors can be analyzed, but often they cannot be directly observed in the moment. For example, a dog that uses offensive aggression may do so due to a traumatic experience. Learning history of using offensive aggression can inhibit fear. Without history taking and a full functional behavior analysis, this cannot be observed. Motivational factors include physical factors such as pain or illness, hormonal factors, genetic factors, socialization and development, trauma, learning history, attachment, allostatic load, meaning chronic stress and the ability to flexibly respond to acute stressors, enrichment and the lack of enrichment, and social interactions. And this is where ethology meets behaviorism. As you've seen in the previous slide, triggers plus motivation result in a response. The context matters. Triggers are immediate antecedents. They happen right before the behavior and elicit or evoke a behavioral response. Type of triggers can be sign stimulus that elicits a behavior sequence, such as birds eliciting the predatory behavior, conditioned stimulus that elicits a conditioned response, such as seeing another dog eliciting a conditioned fear response, or discriminative stimulus that evokes an operant behavior. The salience of a trigger, such as its intensity, duration, or distance, influences the behavior too. If your dog is fearful of other dogs, they might be able to respond to you when there's enough distance between them and the other dog. That's the green part in the picture. But when they come closer, a threshold is reached, where it becomes increasingly difficult for them to disengage to the point where they can't cope and have a fear response. Being in the red means being fully engaged with the trigger and unable to respond to other elements in their surroundings. This can be related to all types of behavior systems and emotions though: fear, predation, frustration, aggression, play. When analyzing canine communication, we need to take into account the behavior, the context, and the consequences. I'd like to end with a case study. It will explain all the steps mentioned before. Now, I don't have video footage, so please note that this is not based on one picture and the picture I use is of a similar dog, but not the actual dog. So a client mentions they have a reactive adolescent Parson Russell Terrier. He was bitten as a puppy and when he was walking on the lead, and he now lunges to other dogs when he's on leash, snapping and high-pitched barking. He's showing pider erection, and if the other dog doesn't move past quick enough, then he starts biting the leash, or when the other dog starts reacting too, he'll hide behind his guardian. So why is this terrier reactive to passers-by? These are your triggers, in this case other dogs when walking on leash. So why is this terrier reactive to passers-by? Well, first, what does reactive look like? What does it even mean? In this case, it's high-pitched barking, lunging, showing pido-erection, or when the other dog responds with barking, he'll hide, so there's some escape behavior. His posture, he has a lower than neutral body posture, his ears are lowered back, he leans forward with his front legs and his head, but his back legs are kept back. His tail is in a neutral position for a Parson Russell. And the behavior systems are aggression, he's defensive, stepping, barking, lunging. He's showing fear, he's showing autonomic responses such as bite or erection, fight or flight behavior with a lower than neutral body posture, and he's showing conflict behavior. Both systems occur simultaneously, and when the barking doesn't fulfill its function, he redirects, biting the leash when the other dog doesn't move away quick enough. So why is this terrier reactive to passers-by? Well, in this case, I don't think it's a Parson Russell specific behavior. But why is this terrier reactive to passers-by? These are your motivational factors, in this case probably hormones and learning history. He's an adolescent dog who's now found a coping mechanism after being bitten as a puppy by another dog when walking on the lead. And why is this terrier reactive to passers-by? Well, he's defending himself and he's escaping a threat. There is likely a conditioned negative emotional response due to being bitten. And there's acute stress, which occurs when a dog can't control a situation and he may feel that the behavior works for him. It's giving him a sense of control over outcomes. The conclusion could be that he's communicating an internal conflict related to fear. Thank you for watching.